to the third table at just this 11th round of the tournament, you know that they're going to be bringing some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Otavio, of course, coming from Brazil, going to be running this Reshiram and Charizard GX deck. So the first time we're going to see Reshiram and Charizard on the main stage, I think. And Alex also playing Reshiram and Charizard,
yeah.
But there are two different versions of this deck. There's the one that runs Jirachi and all the different Pokemon with abilities that's supporting cast, like the Dene GX, Tapu Lele GX. And there's the version that runs no Pokemon with abilities, instead runs Green's Exploration. And we're going to see both of them in action here. Maybe we'll decide which one is better.
Yeah, I mean, if you speak with a lot of the top players in the US, they're going to believe that the Jirachi version is just so much faster and it's able to get exactly where you want to be, but Greens has that consistency factor to it. You can grab exactly what trainers you need at the right time to be able to get these huge turns.
Yeah, and Alex starting off things with a Judge on the first turn.
Oh, man.
We don't see that very often. Just turn one, attach energy to Volcanion, and Judge.
Who needs Let Loose when you can just play the supporter?
That's right. And you see another interesting card on his bench, that Ditto from the Detective Pikachu expansion.
Hey.
Has the attack Copy Anything, which can actually be useful in this mirror match. If you can load it up with a bunch of energy, you can copy your opponent's Reshiram and Charizard's GX attack.
Yep, Otavio wants to see, hey, what are you doing with that?
Like, what is this? and yeah, it is a one prize Pokemon that can use the attacks of Reshiram and Charizard GX if your opponent has it. So it can be a mirror breaker in a lot of ways. You're saying, hey, I can still do the 300 damage GX attack, but if you knock this thing out, you only get one prize, not three.
It's pretty strong.
Now, Otavio, oh, he's going to let loose. So Judge, Marshadow, both players not happy with their opponent having hands, I guess.
When I saw him play the Fire Energy, I was like, does he want to use his Jirachi's ability first? And then it's like, oh, okay, he's got Let Loose. So he's going to try to get a little extra bit in his hand after this Let Loose here.
Yeah, the good news for Otavio, he did start with that Jirachi. So even though he got hit by the Judge before he got to take his first turn, he gets to at least Stellar Wish and look at his top 5 cards. Perhaps dig for a supporter card. We'll see what he can find here. We do see the Dedenne GX in that top 5. Of course, he is running this ability version with Marshadow, Dedenne GX, and the like. And it looks like just a Guzma off of the Stellar Wish, though.
Yeah, not necessarily what he's looking for, but has that Kiawe, so that's going to help him a ton here. Gets a lot of energies accelerated onto the board, and it's a great way to end your first turn. You're probably not going to be attacking anyways with a deck like this.
Yeah, and this is one of the advantages of running this ability version. You get to run Kiawe just because you have the cards that can search for Kiawe. Things like Tapu Lele GX, you can dig for Kiawe on your first turn. And boy, this looks scary, huh? Reshiram and Charizard GX already has 5 energy on it. That's one away from that double blaze hitting for 300.
Yeah, that is where you want to be, especially in the mirror match. If you're able to target down with a card, maybe like Guzma, something that his Jirachi grabbed him on the very last turn, you could certainly eye up a huge knockout, grabbing 3 prizes and flipping this game.
Now, we have the 2 different versions of this deck. They have their pluses and minuses. Do you have a good feeling on if one is favored over the other, or is it just still a mirror match at the end of the day?
It's close to the mirror match. I feel like being the aggressor in this matchup is always going to be helpful. So getting that first Reshiram is always very important into taking that big knockout. It's hard to get a retaliated knockout with just Welder. So I feel like Volcanion doesn't provide enough help in this matchup per se. So I'd rather be a Jirachi and just get all of the cards at the right time instead of doing this chip damage.
Yeah, it certainly feels like the Kiawe gives you a big edge if you can get it on the first turn. If you can get up to 6 energy before your opponent and use that double blaze GX and take down your opponent's Reshiram and Charizard. Yeah, like you said, there's not really a way to fight back from that if you're just playing Welder.
Right.
The math doesn't quite work out. If you have a choice band, you can Flare Strike for 260, which is 10 short. Hard to believe that's true.
Right.
260 not enough, but that is the case. So you end up in awkward spots where you have to like outrage for 30, and then you can Flare Strike next turn.
Right.
And we do see an interesting card off of this Green's Exploration. We see Fiery Flint and Lieutenant Surge's Strategy.
Yeah.
This is a card you can only play if you are losing, if your opponent has fewer prize cards than you. And it allows you to play 3 total supporter cards for the turn, which means you basically get to play 2 supporters after that. But Alex is going to go with the high heat blast, and thanks to the weakness on Jirachi, going to get the first knockout and put Otavio in potentially an awkward situation.
Yep. Octavio really wanted to see a fire energy, and it looks like that was his top deck. He has one in hand as well, so is lined up to take the knockout on the other tag team Pokemon here.
All right, this would be a huge swing in the game to see. There is Gouveia going after his opponent's tag team, and with 6 fire energy can use Double Blaze GX, get that team bonus, 300 damage, 3 prize cards on his second turn. He's already halfway to winning.
That's a big boy.
And if you're Alex, all you got left is Volcanion with 2 fire energy. You do have the Ditto on the bench, but he did prepare himself for this. He does have Lieutenant Surge's strategy.
Yep.
And we'll see if he can pull off something big, because this does let you do things like play 2 Welders in a single turn and burst a bunch of energy out of nowhere.
So he's trying to eye up the best way to do this. It looks like in combination with Green and Welder, he might be able to get himself a relatively solid hand. Could set himself up another Reshiram and Charizard tag team. Wouldn't have to worry about being knocked out, as the 300 damage attack has already occurred, and that's only going to be once a game.
It looks like he's going to start off with the Green's Exploration, so I don't think we'll see a knockout this turn. There was an opportunity for him to do something like play Welder, put 2 energy on Ditto, attach for the turn, and then play Professor Kukui and Choice Band. I don't even think that's enough, to be honest. I think that's actually short.
It's a lot, but not enough.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was another energy on a tag team, Reshiram and Charizard, he could go that double Welder attach wildness, but
yeah,
that's.
I don't think he plays energy switch or anything like that, so he's going to have to settle for maybe getting a 2-hit knockout on this Reshiram and Charizard, but maybe that's okay. I mean, Otavio is all in on this one Reshiram and Charizard.
Right.
He doesn't even have any other attackers in play. That's his only Pokemon with energy, so if Alex can slowly knock it out over the next 2 turns, maybe Otavio just kind of fizzles out. So Alex still deciding which 2 trainer cards to take off of Green's Exploration. Looks like Welder and Choice Band. Gonna go ahead with the Fiery Flint. You discard 2 cards, go search for 4 fire energy cards. And then I assume he'll follow that up with a Welder. Kyle, what does Alex need to do at this point to come back from this game? I mean, he's down 2 prizes. His opponent's got a giant Reshiram and Charizard powered up.
Yeah, it's so tough. He needs to get some chip damage onto this tag team Pokemon, and then he needs to retaliate with his own tag team. So I feel like without 1 energy on a Reshiram and Charizard this turn, he's going to have a very difficult way of coming back. Perhaps the Ditto is available to take some of those energies, but it's a lot easier of a target to knock out for his opponent. So as soon as these energies go onto the Ditto, you know that Octavio is going to be eyeing up taking that out over, as opposed to the Volcanion.
All right, but he is going to Welder onto the Ditto and attach for the turn. So 3 energy on that Ditto now, and he can high heat blast. Does have enough energy in play to get the extra damage from Volcanion. So can hit for 110 damage. It leaves Reshiram and Charizard GX with 160 HP, and that means Ditto can clean up next turn. So Alex doing all he can, and it's worth noting he also does have Power Plant in play, which will block things like Dedenne GX and Tapu Lele GX. So unless Otavio can find a counter stadium, those cards are going to be worthless in his deck.
Yep, Octavio decides to throw away a Welder here. His hand must be pretty strong. May not have the energies too.
Yeah, you never want to see your opponent Acrobike and discard Welder. That means something bad's probably happening.
That's the 3rd bike in a row. Doing a triathlon over here.
Just how it seems to go, right? You Acrobike, find another Acrobike, play another one. The best is when you Acrobike into 2 Acrobikes. Just seems like it happens more often than it should.
Right.
But he is able to find Nest Ball. Looks like he's eyeing up the Jirachi. Perhaps has a switch in hand, so he can switch into Jirachi, maybe try to find a Gouveia this turn and take out the threatening Ditto on the bench. Not a very big Pokemon, but can copy big attacks, whereas the Volcanion really isn't very threatening.
Right. You know the damage output of the Volcanion, but that Ditto could certainly take a huge knockout, so would love to get rid of that.
And perhaps that power plant blocking some of Otavio's plans. He would love to be able to just play down Dedenne GX or Tapu Lele GX here, but...
Yeah, I was about to say, can he retreat here? Because he doesn't need these energies anymore. He could just do this retreat. And if the Jirachi finds him the Guzma, he can find the knockout on the Ditto. And if not, he has the switch to come up and knock out the Volcanion again if he would like to.
Yeah, he can outrage for a knockout. It almost seems unfair that a 270 HP Pokemon has outrage.
Right.
Like, I got too much HP for you to knock me out in one hit most of the time. And if you don't, I'm going to hit you for about a bunch of damage.
Right. You have to get a one-hit knockout on me, which is near impossible.
We also see he has Miltank in his hand.
All right. Yeah, that can definitely spice things up.
But is going to go for the Guzma.
There it is.
On this Ditto. And does not want Ditto to copy anything. And this is going to put Alex in another tough situation. Although, once again, Otavio does not get another attacker powered up.
Right.
If Alex can find a way to get a knockout on this Reshiram and Charizard GX, the game is not out of reach. All it would really take is his own Reshiram and Charizard GX, a Welder, and he can double blaze GX for the knockout at this point. See if he can pull anything off.
Using that Pokegear now, perhaps if he had another Lieutenant Surge, he could pull that off in combination with greens. Be able to get all of that going. Right now, in his hands, we saw that he has the Welder, but I believe it's only one fire energy, so it would be pretty difficult to be able to get off such a big attack with just that limited amount of energies there.
You saw what that one is? I saw what this one is, yeah.
All right, I think there's a
number
play
7.
error here.
Okay.
I think Alex played Pokegear and accidentally looked at 8 cards instead of 7, which is unfortunate. I do think that ends up with a prize penalty, but we'll let the judges handle this one at the table. You can see our judge there explaining to the player what's happening here.
It's really awkward. Right.
So gonna reveal both players get that information of that 8th card, and looks like they're gonna continue on.
All right.
We get more Pokemon. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so can Alex climb out of this hole? He's got just the Volcanion and not even enough fire energy to get the extra damage from High Heat Blast.
Yeah.
Gonna play Green's Exploration, which is great in early turns, but at this point, you really want to be playing Welder, or at least Lieutenant Surge's strategy to play a couple supporter cards in a turn. All he can really do here is probably find a Nest Ball, get his Reshiram and Charizard GX on the bench, and hope that he can at least get another turn.
Yeah, this Volcanion's also not doing nearly enough damage to put Octavio on the back foot.
Not at all. So we see Green's Exploration grabbing Nest Ball and Fire Crystal. The good news for Alex is that his Volcanion doesn't give up any relevant prize cards here.
Right.
Octavio's at 2 prize cards, so if this one prize Volcanion gets knocked out, there's still 1 prize card remaining, which means he's going to have to fight his way through 1 more Reshiram and Charizard GX, which is no easy feat, especially after you've used your GX attack for the game.
Right. We talked a lot in previous years about that 7 prize game that you make players play. Now it's an 8 prize game.
I know, it's even harder.
He's just going to leave that tag team Pokemon on the field, and that's probably the only Pokemon we'll see him have in play after the Volcanion falls presumptuously.
50.
Yeah, and just a High Heat Blast, another 50 damage coming onto that Reshiram and Charizard GX. And this has got to be the turn where Otavio needs to get down another attacker. He needs to find another Reshiram and Charizard GX, otherwise he's in big danger here.
Right. I feel like if he's able to find another Pokemon this turn, he's in a fantastic spot. If he's not able to, at least a Guzma or Escape Rope possibly, something to get outrage damage onto that Reshiram and Charizard would be very helpful for him, and then it would buy him a little extra time to potentially find that Pokemon plus Welder combination in the future.
Absolutely. You can see Alex's potential path to victory, though. As we do see the Marshadow come down
Yep.
with the resetting hole ability, saying, get that power plant out of here, man.
Yep. Why are you hating on my Dedenne? I need to draw cards. I need to win this game.
But there is, it seems like a clear path to victory for Alex if he can survive through this turn. Next turn he can Welder, attach energy, and then Flare Strike for the knockout on this Reshiram and Charizard GX. And then if another one comes out, he has not used his GX attack yet.
Right.
He can still Double Blaze GX for the full 300. And you can see just 2 tag team knockouts can lead to a victory still. So even though Otavio has been in the lead for pretty much this entire game, it's far from over.
So, Otavio's going to go fishing.
Yeah, switches into the Jirachi, so you can use Stellar Wish, take a look at those top 5 cards, and hope to find something good. Doesn't look like he found anything great, though. At least nothing he's jumping to grab right away.
Right.
And yeah, after that explosive first turn with the Kiawe, really not a whole lot else.
So we do see Welder. There's also, I believe, a Switch is the other option, but
Yeah, all right, Welder seems like a good choice here. Does have that Miltank, but doesn't seem like he's going to have any great opportunity to use it
also
in this scenario. And wow, actually Ultra Balls away Welder.
wow. He did see Dedenne there, so he knows that that's an available option for him if he wanted to continue to draw. Tapu Lele is also a fine choice. Could find him whatever supporter he chooses here.
All right, looks like he's going to use the resetting hole
Good
with
thing.
Marshadow. Good thing he did that before
Yep.
playing down Tapu Lele.
I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. You never feel stupider than when you do something like that. And we do see Guzma bringing out this Reshiram and Charizard GX from Alex, just trying to get a hit in on it, understanding that, all right, I can't let this thing sweep my board. I got to at least bring it out and hit it with Outrage for a bunch of damage, and then get my other Reshiram and Charizard GX ready for the next turn. This is smart play from Otavio, understanding how he can lose this game and how he needs to prevent that from happening.
Right. He does have the energy that in his hand as well. He hasn't played that for the turn, so he could attach to the bench here. Also, I'm having a really hard time getting past the fact that Miltank is still in his hand instead of a Welder.
Yeah.
Doesn't that seem a little better?
Yeah, no kidding. And wow, no attachment for the turn.
I can use my.
And just gonna Outrage. That's for 190, I believe. 30 plus 160. I think the math checks out. But yeah, surprising that there's no energy attachment. Surprising that there's still a Miltank in his hand.
He's got plans for that Miltank.
Which means I have to do.
And at this point, I mean, Alex probably feels pretty okay about this situation, right? Your opponent with no energy in play has no threat of a Welder and Flare Strike for the knockout.
Right.
And he can actually switch into this Volcanion. Looks like he's got a Choice Band in hand. I don't even think he needs it. 110 damage from the High Heat Blast is perfect for a knockout. So with a Fire Crystal here, gets a 4th Fire Energy into play.
Yep.
And can get this 3-prize knockout.
He desperately wanted to Acerola in that spot, but he knew that he wouldn't be able to have the 4 energy in play, so
Right.
he has to keep this Pokemon in the field.
He also wants to Welder this turn, probably.
Right.
We see another Power Plant. And Welder going to attach those 2 Fire Energy to the benched Reshiram and Charizard GX. Draw 3 cards. And is Alex in the middle of a big comeback?
It seems so difficult to attach these energies to a Pokemon with so much damage on it, but honestly, you've seen your opponent use a lot of resources, and he doesn't have any available Pokemon right now to take this knockout. So
Yeah.
if you can use your Volcanion to take this knockout here, you could definitely see Welder in the following turn and a big 300 damage attack right back over from Alex's side.
Right, and Otavio's already used 3 Guzma this game. Most Reshiram and Charizard decks don't play for Guzma. So you might think he's already out of all of his Guzma. Even if he has a 4th one, he can't play Welder and Guzma in the same turn. As we do see Welder going on to the Tapu Lele GX.
Yep,
But-
could see some energy drives.
Goodbye, Miltank. Finally hitting the discard pile. And the Fiery Flint grabbing 4 Fire Energy from his deck. Now, if Otavio had something like Escape Rope in his deck, he could force that Reshiram and Charizard GX active and Energy Drive for the game.
Chose to go with the 4 switch, though.
Yep. There are times when you have Escape Rope and you wish it was switch, but this is one of those times where you wish it was the other way around.
Absolutely.
Stellar Wish, get a look at the top 5 cards. Grab a skateboard. And the unfortunate part for Otavio is he really doesn't have any way left to bring out the Reshiram and Charizard GX, and he doesn't have a good way to even knock out Volcanion.
Right.
He can do 100 damage with Energy Drive here, but that's not enough. What's his game plan here for winning this game?
Yeah, this is almost a concession to a Guzma at this point. If his opponent's able to knock out this Tapu Lele, it's going to be very difficult for Octavio to find the remaining damage he needs to win this match.
And we do see Heat Factory Prism Star. Alex drawing 3 cards here. He does play the 4 custom catchers in his deck. If he can find a Greens Exploration, that'll be game over. If he can find Guzma off of this Pokegear, that's also game. And he finds a Welder. He drew 1 custom catcher off the Heat Factory. So maybe he can Welder, draw 3 more cards, and hit that game-winning custom catcher.
His deck is looking pretty thin here, so certainly some live draws for him. Yeah, we see, look at all these cards. He could he could take a peek at his deck with that Nest Ball if he chose. Just see what the odds are for himself.
Whoa.
Wow.
He's going with the Acerola here. Picks up his Reshiram and Charizard GX and just says, you know what, I don't want to take any risks here. I don't know if you play for Guzma, but I'm just going to make sure I don't lose this game. And, I mean, on some level, can't blame him, right?
It's not a bad play. If he had all of the information that we have, then maybe he would have gone a different route, but it certainly seems like the much safer choice here.
Yeah, and then next turn he can just Welder, attach the energy.
And if he finds that custom catcher, he's got it.
Yeah, this way, Otavio just has no way to win, right? Even if he has a 4th Guzma, he can't knock out Reshiram and Charizard GX. Knocking out the Volcanion doesn't get you a win. So this is a smart play from Alex. It's a very conservative play, but it's going to lead to 100% victory, I think. And Otavio just looking through his options, wondering, is there anything I can do?
And adding all these energies to a Tapu Lele, and there's such a Reshiram and Charizard going, hey, I'd like some of those.
Yeah. Where you need the Ninja Boy and just...
Oh, yeah.
Now 4th energy going on to Tapu Lele GX, and we're going to see Yahweh. All right. There are no fire energy.
Yeah, there's no energy.
So he gets to shuffle his deck and end his turn.
Good card. That's the difference between turn 1 Kiawe and turn 6 Kiawe.
Yeah, if there's no fire energy in your deck, Kiawe is not the best. All right, so now Alex, if he finds the custom catcher, he can win the game this turn. Going to use that Heat Factory Prism Star, and there is custom catcher. If you have 2 of them, you can play them both at the same time. He's going to Welder first, draw 3 cards off of that. And it is like the old Pokemon catcher if you can play 2 of them at the same time. Bring out one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, and there we go. Double custom catcher, the 4th energy, and a Flare Strike. And Alex Bunker is going to climb out of a double prize deficit. At one point, I think he was down 3 prized cards, but didn't give up, kept fighting, and ultimately was able to win the first game.
Yeah, that was very impressive by Alex. He kept his composure. It looked very bad for him after that 300 damage attack landed on his Pokemon, but instead he just continued to push through, used his Volcanion, and found the right cards that he needed to make that sweet comeback and pick the right time with that Acerola. There were a lot of just really intricate plays that worked out perfectly for him there.
Yeah, and in the battle of the Reshiram and Charizard builds, it's green 1, Jirachi 0.
Oh man, I'm wrong. My sample size of 1 is crushing me.
Yep. All right, so we saw the first game. Otavio, and it looked like he got pretty much everything he wanted, at least in the early turns. He got the early Kiawe, he got the Guzmas when he needed them, but he still lost. Kyle, what does he need to do in game 2 to turn this back around?
So he plays at least one Reshiram and Charizard. I'm hoping there's two.
Yeah.
And if he can get a Kiawe on the opening turn and then a Welder on the second turn, he'll have multiple attackers. And then he can provide different Pokemon to attack his opponent with instead of just one big guy going at it. It's really nice to have that really large Reshiram and Charizard going in and taking all these prize cards early. But if you have no follow-up, there's no way that you can win a game like this, that when your opponent has the exact same firepower.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Typically, when you make that play early on, you goose them out, your opponent's Reshiram and Charizard turn 2 and take 3 prizes. You tend to win those games.
Right.
But in that game, he just never got a follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, his one Reshiram and Charizard GX attacked like 4 or 5 times, but he didn't end up winning the game. And once he got knocked out, he was out of gas.
Yeah, the only attachments that he made past that Reshiram and Charizard were to a Tapu Lele.
Right.
he never committed to any other Pokemon. I don't think he really had the option to at some of these points.
Yeah, and he was holding on to that Miltank for so long, but never had an opportunity to use it.
Yep.
That is a strong card when you can use it well,
Yep.
but it is a very awkward card to use. You have to have it as your active Pokemon, and then the Moo Moo Malt ability. Whenever you attach an energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon, you heal 60 damage from it. So if you can do something like retreat into Miltank, Welder, a couple energy onto your damaged Pokemon, and then play a switch back into it, that can basically act as a max potion.
Yep.
Just completely heal off your Pokemon, but sometimes you're just like, I'm one card off of pulling this off. But you always have that hope that, this Miltank can be good at some point, man, I swear. Sometimes it blinds you from making the right plays.
you get your active Pokemon knocked out, and you're like, I want to bring up Miltank to heal, but Jirachi gets me like anything from my deck, so should I just do him? It's tough.
All right, so we're getting game 2 underway, and looks like Alex did mulligan a few times. He is running this version with has fewer basic Pokemon in his deck, just a total of 7 Pokemon in his deck. So mulligans aren't going to be too uncommon, and we do see, oh no, Miltank is prized.
Unlucky.
But in game number 2, Otavio will be going first. Our player from Brazil gets a Welder on the first turn, so no Kiawe, but Welder's not bad either.
Yep. Not his favorite ordering, but it's going to do the job for him. Gets to see a few extra cards as well. And, I mean, it's nothing to scoff at when you have this big Reshiram and Charizard set up already.
Absolutely, and he starts off with the Reshiram from the Shining Legends expansion. A solid non-GX attacker, probably not going to be very important in this matchup, but basically does 130 damage for 3 energy, which can be important in some matchups, just not here.
Yep. Sometimes you might knock out a Volcanion, but yeah, I don't think we're going to see him too much. Would much rather be a Jirachi.
And to put it in perspective, the non-GX Reshiram has 130 HP, and Reshiram and Charizard has more than double Reshiram's HP. All right, here we go. Marshadow let loose for Otavio. This can fix any bad matchup. If you just give your opponent 4 bad cards before they start their first turn, turns out you can win against anything.
Yeah, I mean, if we see no Pokegear, no greens, this can definitely be a quick game too.
Right, and
oh my! He's got a custom catcher.
Yeah, sure does. Well, Otavio does play the Heat Factory Prism Star, which actually is going to give Alex an out here. He does have fire energy.
I'm very surprised by that. This gives his opponent an out to draw out from this let loose.
Yeah, you would consider there just not playing it, because if your hand is okay, you might want to hold on to it and say, all right, I don't want to give my opponent a chance to draw cards off of this.
Right.
But if your hand is bad, maybe you go, I guess I just need Heat Factory and hope for the best.
Is 2 uses of it for you more important than 1 use for your opponent? And often the answer could be yes if you're trying to get to that 300 damage threshold that he sees, but it's pretty scary when your opponent really didn't have anything until this Heat Factory. We'll see if this pays off.
Huge draws off of the Heat Factory Prism Star for Alex, and oh no. He draws his own Heat Factory, but you cannot play a Stadium card that has the same name as the one already in play. And his hand is just junk. He's got 2 custom catchers. He could bring out like the Reshiram again, I guess.
Yeah, he could try to buy a little time.
Oh, no, he's just going to pass the turn. Kyle, if you're in that situation, are you playing those custom catchers or holding on and saying,
I think
if I lose, I lose?
You have to do anything to stay alive at this point.
Well,
I would almost argue that the Brazilian name of Heat Factory means it's a different name, and I'm going to get to play my Heat Factory. Do anything you can.
Oh, I think this game is all over, Kyle. We see Fiery Flint for 4 fire energy. If Otavio has a welder in hand, it is game over.
Oh, man. There it is.
Double Blaze GX for 300 damage, and just like that, game over. Tied up, 1 game apiece.
So, Octavio has done 600 damage over the course of his opening 2 turns. You'd think he'd just be leaving the stage now, right?
Yeah.
There's not much you can do after that.
And right there, we saw why the ability version of this deck can be so powerful. We saw Otavio burn through his deck and let loose his opponent into a dead hand.
Yep.
And now we're tied 1 game apiece.
Yeah, that is not an option for Alex. He goes with that consistency route with his greens exploration. He tries to get everything to work on his side of the board, doesn't care too much about what's going on with his opponents, but you just see how important that is for Octavio. If he can manipulate what's going on with his opponent along with get something pretty good for himself on his side, he can wipe out games as fast as 2-3 minutes.
All right, Kyle, we've seen 2 games now. We got about 20 minutes left, so you got to think the 3rd one will finish. Who do you think's got the edge in game number 3?
I feel like going first is a huge advantage. However, Kiawe for Octavio, if he can get it on that opening turn, it can give him the edge that he needs. So if we see the Kiawe from Octavio, I feel like he's going to win this match. If not, I'm going to give the edge to Alex.
All right. Maybe we can settle this debate. Which version is better, Green or Jirachi?
If I was going to put my money somewhere, I'd hope that the Kiawe player was going first. This is a great way to see who, which deck is on top, though.
Yeah. This is just definitive proof, right?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. 1 match that just proves everything.
Don't trust your friends. This is what you need to see. Rewatch this clip.
All right, Alex going to begin game number 3 with that Ditto. And he does have Green's Exploration, which is a good card to start with when you're going first. He gets to search for 2 trainer cards, put them right into his hand. And this is any trainer card, item, supporter, stadium, not just limited to 1 type of trainer card. Any trainers you want. Looks like it's going to be 2 Nest Balls, going for a Reshiram, Charizard GX, and a Volcanion.
All right.
So a much better start than we saw in the last game. Probably even a better start than he had in the first game.
Yep. I really like the fact that he went for multiple Pokemon. This means that he can get a board set up and not be as susceptible to a let loose this time around. His problem was that he had only played 1 card.
Yes.
And you're not going to win a game when you play 1 card. So he's played multiple cards here, and he could certainly find outs off of a let loose.
All right, so just going to switch into the Volcanion and pass. Doesn't want to get hit by a
Oh,
let loose with
man.
Ditto in the active, and Otavio is just going in. Let loose, that's the first card he's playing, Marshadow, nothing else.
He didn't even attach an energy. He said, it's not worth it. I'm just going to try fresh and see what happens here with these 4 cards.
And this tends to be the situation where let loose turns into let's lose when you play no other cards before playing Marshadow. Your deck still has 40+ cards in it. Your odds of drawing what you need are just so low. At least he has Jirachi, I guess.
Yeah, Jirachi could find him a Kiawe, but he needs a Pokemon to get these energies onto.
Needs to find that Dedenne GX. Cycle through, get a new hand.
All right, let's see if a bike finds a bike, finds a bike.
Oh boy. This is the nerve-wracking spot where the only card that can draw you cards in your hand is an Acro Bike. And you hope those top 2 cards are kind.
They need to be good.
And
All right, if you throw away that,
he gets another Jirachi.
All right, try again.
I think he's just digging for an Ultra Ball, right? You got to find Dedenne GX, otherwise.
Right. Oh, he's just finding welders.
Oh, no. All right, well, he's got a welder. But as you said, nowhere to put the energy. All right, Marshadow.
Let's lose.
He's
Mill
got a
tank.
Mill tank. There you go. You can use that sit-down splash. All right, going to attach 1 energy to Marshadow, which allows you to draw 3 cards off of Welder. But, oh, my, this does not look good for our Brazilian player. And just passing the turn with no Reshiram and Charizard in play, no attackers, just a couple of 70 HP Pokemon that can't even attack in his deck.
And a few of those are weak to fire, so he's just going to bring up his Marshadow and pass.
Oh, and Alex has got to be loving this. He's got another Greens Exploration. He's just going to take it slow.
Yep. If he had the Welder there, he could have potentially found the knockout here on the Marshadow. Instead, gets to take this Greens. He can find cards like the Fiery Flint, and if he wants to get aggressive, or he could find a card like a Welder, this is going to be helpful for getting those energies onto the board, also getting through his deck. Can always throw away 2 fires, grab 4 fires. It's a pretty good trade.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder, yeah, this is exactly what he's going to do. You called it. Going to discard 2 fire energy, search for 4 fire energy. And I wonder if he's going to high heat blast this turn for 50 or just use the first attack and search for an energy to get onto the Reshiram and Charizard GX.
Yeah,
if I had to guess, I'd say get the energy.
I'd get an energy for sure. If you can get some energies onto your Reshiram and Charizard, threaten that first 300 damage attack, you're definitely in the lead. And he even can threaten it with Ditto, honestly, at this point. You know your opponent would have to be attaching to a Reshiram and Charizard there.
He's spreading his energy out, saying, all right, I got all sorts of threats. Volcanion, Ditto, Reshiram, and Charizard.
This little pink blob's going places.
All right, and Otavio needs to find something good here. I think he was expecting Marshadow to get knocked out, but now he's going to have to retreat into a Jirachi, and perhaps only limited to 1 Stellar Wish this turn.
Yep. I like that he brings up the Jirachi without the Escape Board. Using his retreat for the turn means that he wouldn't be able to use the Escape Board's effect, so gonna just promote this Jirachi instead.
Okay, and finally finds the Ultra Ball off of this Stellar Wish. But is it just too late?
Yeah, it makes me wonder if a Power Plant would have been a great grab for Alex on the previous turn.
Yeah. Otavio is going to throw away 2 fire energy with his Ultra Ball. Oh, nope, just 1 and a Guzma. And I wonder, it looks like he is eyeing up to Dene GX. It's time to Dene exchange that hand for 6 new cards. But he's burned through a reasonable number of resources at this point. I think there's a couple Welders in the discard pile,
right,
which can be pretty painful. He could still find a Kiawe this turn to charge up a Reshiram and Charizard GX. But, oh, and the great debate, do I bench Miltank?
Right.
Oh, man, that clogs up your bench so much.
He has, once again, he's just going to be limited to that 1 attacker, which was his downfall in the opening game.
And we see the Dene change, 6 new cards.
Okay, I was looking for a Pokemon. I think we do see that Nest Ball. That's going to help him out a ton. Acrobike's first.
Okay. Discards the Escape Board. He's got a Heat Factory in hand as well. Nest Ball's got to go for a Reshiram and Charizard GX here. And I think he might just be digging for Kiawe. See if he can find one. He's got Heat Factory and a Fire Energy in hand. Might be 3 crucial cards to be drawn here. Could also draw a switch to switch into Jirachi, but 3 cards off of this Heat Factory. Does he find Kiawe?
Acrobike.
Turn keeps going.
Don't need a Reshiram. Don't need a Reshiram and Charizard.
And no.
Not seeing it.
Got a Welder, though.
Yep. And I see a Crystal, too.
Yep, gets Fire, Crystal, and Welder. But this does not threaten for that. Well, I guess it can threaten for the 300 damage Double Blaze GX if you find your 4th Welder.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's his last Welder now at this point.
Yeah, this is Welder number 3. Had to Acrobike one away, had to attach to Marshadow with the 2nd one, and now number 3 hitting the discard pile. Oh boy, this does not look good for Otavio, but at least he's finally got an attacker up and running.
Jirachi will stay asleep, does not want to see what's going to happen to him.
And we're going to see Heat Factory be used by Alex. And now if he can just Welder, get some energy onto his either Ditto or Reshiram and Charizard GX, and then attach and knock out this Jirachi. He's going to start putting some pressure on his opponent.
Yeah, he found really good cards. He found double Fire Crystal and a Greens Exploration.
He's got double Custom Catcher, too, if he wants to go that route. We do see Greens Exploration. This could be one of those situations where you set up for the Lieutenant Surge's strategy.
Right.
You grab it this turn and then counter catcher out your opponent's Reshiram and Charizard GX and hit it for 110. And you go, all right, your move. You want to take a knockout here?
Yeah, outrage me. Take it, and it's all yours.
Yeah, and if they don't attack you, then you're like, okay, I'll hit you again.
Yeah. I can keep doing 110 all day.
So it looks like that Greens Exploration is going to grab Lieutenant Surge's strategy and Professor Kukui, signaling to Otavio, hey, I have ways to knock out your Reshiram and Charizard without using my GX attack. If I go Kukui, Choice Band, then Flare Strike hits for 280, and that's a knock. He's going to be using that Stellar Wish, looking at his top 5 cards. And he is in a bit of a pickle here, as once again, just has one attacker and no bench space to power up another one. The Mill Tank may have been a mistake. We're just in a spot where I'm not sure what Otavio can do. I mean, if he sends out his Reshiram and Charizard and attacks, then Alex just has a response knockout, and Otavio's left with nothing in play.
Yep.
We do find the Kiawe, but is it just a little too late?
Yeah, this is the. He definitely wanted to use this Kiawe on the previous turn. It could have led him to at least some sort of knockout on this turn then for himself. But obviously these energies have to go to your Reshiram and Charizard, and you're all in once more on this big Pokemon.
Yeah, they're not going to Mill Tank. None of your other Pokemon can attack.
Wants to just only give 2 energies to the Reshiram. He's a little worried.
Yeah. I guess you may as well. If it gets knocked out, then you only lose the 5. If it doesn't get knocked out, you can't even attach anywhere else.
Right.
And just going to pass the turn. This is surprising. This would seem like a fast-paced, hard-hitting matchup, but both players are just kind of passing back and forth, jockeying for position here. And we'll see who's going to come out on top. It seems like Alex is heavily favored in this situation. Looking at those 2 custom catchers, and he is going to drop them down now, bring out that Reshiram and Charizard GX, and start to apply the pressure.
Yep, so doesn't want to wait for that Lieutenant Surge. He wants to just get some damage into play now.
Yep, Fire Crystal brings back 3 fire energy from the discard pile. And we'll see, will he finally play a Welder? Does have 1 in hand. He's got a couple in hand. Seems like the right time to drop down some energy, but
High Heat Blast.
no, he's just going with the High Heat Blast. He's being really conservative with his supporter cards.
Yeah.
I guess in some sense, you know your opponent's bench is full. They tend not to play Judge because they have Marshadow.
Right. You can hold on to 15 cards when your opponent can't bench anything.
And this is where the Mill Tank needs to prove its worth. There's 110 damage on Reshiram and Charizard GX. You need to be able to switch into Mill Tank, use that Moo Moo Malt, heal off the damage. Otherwise, I mean, it's just pretty clear your one tag team is getting knocked out.
Yep.
And you're just so far behind in this game. With 3 Welders in the discard pile, this goes down. What do you do?
Yeah, you have no way to put energies back onto the board, especially with taking 4 energies out of your deck. That means any Kiawe potential is not there anymore. And do you even have time at that point to waste a whole turn using Kiawe? It's
Probably
going to
not.
be manual attachments. I think he's all in on this Reshiram.
See the Heat Factory Prism Star being used. And we do see Switch, but it's going into Jirachi.
Yeah, this is the spot we're talking about. You have to pick and choose which one is going to help you more.
Probably trying to find Guzma this turn to at least get a knockout on the opposing Reshiram and Charizard GX. And there is Guzma. Otavio doing whatever he can to stay in this game. But Alex has been sculpting his hand for several turns with those Greens Explorations. He's been holding on to supporter cards. He's got Lieutenant Surge's strategy in hand already. Feels like he's just ready to pounce the second Otavio takes a knockout. All right, but here comes Miltank.
Here we go.
It's going to heal 60 damage with that Moo Moo Malt.
It's 90,
90
yeah.
damage. Yeah, sorry.
He's good.
Yeah. That's some good milk.
Oh, the Wisconsin player can't be happy about that.
And there we see Gouveia coming after Reshiram and Charizard GX. And double blaze, so Otavio is going to take the lead in this game briefly. Take 3 prize cards.
This is the turn, though.
This is where Ditto comes in handy. This is where you go, all right, time to copy anything. And if he can copy Flare Strike with a choice band attached to Ditto, that'll be a knockout.
Yeah, even with just the Kiawe at this, or the Kukui at this point, he's going to be able to get the right math with the 20 damage remaining.
Right. He's going to kick things off with Lieutenant Surge's strategy, which will allow him to essentially play 2 supporter cards this turn. Welder to draw 3 cards just to see what he gets first. And then can play Green's Exploration to search up that choice band if he needs to. He also has a Fire Crystal to get back 3 fire energy. I don't even think he's used the Heat Factory Prism Star yet.
Yep, he can draw just about every card that he wants to see at this point.
All right, so now the 4th energy, that is the attachment for the turn, goes on to Ditto. Gonna put down the Reshiram and Charizard GX as well. And this is a spot where you would actually like to Welder a second time if possible, but it's a little risky. You do need to get this knockout here. Right now, copy anything is going to be 20 short, so you need to either play Professor Kukui or find a choice band to get this knockout. Alex trying to figure out what is the best one to do here. He's eyeing up the Kukui and has realized, oh, why don't I just Heat Factory
Heat Factory's
first?
good, yeah. Let's do that.
All right, that does not help him, though. Doesn't give him any more information.
Of course, if he was concerned if the choice band was in the deck or not, he now has that nest ball that he could use to search and see if it is there. Doesn't have to grab a Pokemon.
Yeah, I think I would play greens here
You're
just
right.
to search up the choice band. It also gives you another card out of your deck. You can choose which cards you want, but I can see an argument for playing Professor Kukui as well.
Here he goes. Yeah, so he's going to use that nest ball. Just wants to check to see, all right, is it there? Because I don't want to make a big mistake on the big stage. He does see multiple choice band, I believe, so that's going to work out fantastic for him.
Yep, and there we go. Green's Exploration. Going to search up choice band and then maybe a welder, maybe a counter catcher or a custom catcher.
He looked at power plant and he's like, no, he's already played all those.
Right.
I don't know. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, you're fine if your opponent plays Tapu Lele next turn, I think.
Yep. It's been his second favorite attacker.
All right, and we see the full power of the Detective Pikachu expansion. We saw the Greninja at the Europe International Championships. So 2 cards from this 18-card mini expansion now having an impact on competitive play. Copy anything, copy in the Flare Strike for a 3-prize knockout.
You go, Ditto. I'm just imagining a giant Reshiram and Charizard with the little Ditto eyes.
Yeah. Oh, man. Ditto getting the knockout, and now we're at a tie game. But I do not think this is a tie game by any means. Otavio is pretty far behind.
This is his last welder, so he needs to make the most of it. He's also very low on cards. He looks like he's sub 10.
Yeah, now the one thing we have to watch out for is the clock is running a little low. So even though Alex seems to be in a pretty dominant position, he still needs to have the time to close out the game.
Right.
He hasn't had opportunities to power up a Reshiram and Charizard GX, and Ditto is only as powerful as your opponent's Pokemon, but what? He's playing Welder onto the Miltank.
Go, Miltank.
Are we going to see a sit-down splash?
Oh, this is what we've been dreaming of.
Oh, it's coming. It does knock out Ditto. But that's his 4th Welder.
How does he finish a game from this point?
Oh, boy. All right. This is something I didn't think I would be seeing this weekend. sit down splash. You're not the only colorless Pokemon that can use ridiculous attacks, Ditto.
Check this out.
And Otavio is taking a look through his discard pile, seeing if he wants to fire Crystal or anything like that.
Right. I saw at least 8 energies in the discard pile. It's so many.
All right, there's 3 coming back.
Could try to start manually attaching.
Gonna use Mars Shadow to get rid of the Heat Factory Prism Star. And if he's got to let loose Mars Shadow, he could disrupt Alex's hand, which could be a way to put this to a tie situation instead of Otavio just straight up losing.
Right.
At this point, he probably realizes he's not winning this game with sit-down splash, but looks through his deck and no Mars Shadow. Unless it's in his hand. Oh, it is. All right, so he is going to let loose. So time has been called at this point. Which means we are going to go to the extra 3 turns.
Yep.
This is going to demand a pretty good hand from Alex to even get a knockout on this next turn. He would need Welder, probably plus Fire Crystal. He's also kind of low on energy, so after all this, a Miltank attacking, we could end up with a tie instead of a victory.
Yeah, we're going to need to see Welder in combination with energies, and then the following turn he's going to have either greens for that custom catcher or a Guzma to eye down that Dedenne.
So we do see sit down splash for the knockout from the top rope. And now there is a fiery flint in Alex's hand. If there are 2 fire energy left in his deck.
Yeah, fiery flint. Yeah, I had to.
He can welder 2 energy, and looks like there's 1,
2.
Ooh, okay.
All right, just 2.
That is exactly enough, though. He needs to get 4 in play for the high heat blast to get a knockout here, and it potentially keeps his hopes alive.
Yeah.
So if he can get a fire crystal off of this welder, he can get some energy back, and then he just needs to get a Guzma or custom catcher on the following turn to take down the Dedenne GX and win. So this is going to be very, very close. It's going to be a tight finish. I don't think Otavio can possibly win at this point, but Alex still can.
Well, we see he's got the Pokegear.
Yeah, I think Alex needs to thin out his deck as much as he can. Play that Nest Ball, play Pokegear. Try to do whatever you can to draw Fire Crystal. He does get a fire off the prize.
That's so big.
All right, he hasn't used his GX attack yet. All he needs to do is double blaze and knock out Dedenne and win.
Yeah. He can thin down with the Nest Ball. He can play the Pokegear, and then he's just looking for greens for the customs or the Guzma.
Yeah. I can't remember, but I think there might be 1 custom catcher prized. I don't know if we can take a look at Alex's prize cards. That could be a potentially relevant situation if his 4th custom catcher is prized. That could be devastating.
Absolutely.
You know, he does have Nest Balls, so he can search for it. No, there are no custom catchers prized.
All right.
So this game is still possible for Alex to win. It's currently turn 2 of extra turns. Otavio just trying not to lose at this point.
These are just hand exercises.
And it's going to be Alex getting 1 last turn to try to win the game. Otherwise, this is going to end in a tie.
All right, here we go.
That's what we're here for. All right, Alex taking his turn. He needs to thin out his deck, play that Nest Ball. Oh, no, he's just going to go for the Pokegear straight away. All right, does he find a Guzma or Green's Exploration?
I see a Kikuya Welder. Oh, no. Welder could potentially draw into both the catchers.
Yeah.
I think this is out.
He's got a lot of cards in his deck, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
He may have the information that they're just not there. He's going to take a peek. I only saw the one custom catcher, but we didn't see the rest of the deck there. 2 Guzmas were there as well, just not able to find it. And the game will end in a tie.
Yeah, sure looks like that's going to end in a tie.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah, he could still weldered into him.
You could just welder and try. It's really low, but it could have happened.
Yeah. All right, so this match is going to end in a tie.